Americans would say yes, and I think that that is correct. Certainly in terms of the domestic situation, and that's why I think you found that Biden's speech yesterday focused so much on, well, firstly the domestic situation, but secondly on the kind of theme of unity. I think the sense is that he has done particularly in the last few weeks, almost irreparable damage to the politics of the United States, and particularly with instigating that attack on the Capitol.
Yes. No, just looking at the history of the United States of America, and we know over the years it's either been the Democrats or the Republicans. And at the end of the day, whether it has been people like Barack Obama, George Bush, Donald Trump, the Reagans, but all at the end of the day, we know the United States of America, yes, putting America first, because this is exactly what Donald Trump was talking about as well. The same would go with Joe Biden and make America great again. And that seems to be the slogan over and over again. But the position that the United States of America finds itself in, both domestically and on an international level, in terms of its foreign policy and everything else that the United States has been involved in, just looking at Joe Biden, is this a man? Is he able to make a difference?
Well, that depends on where we think he should be making a difference, Inayat. I think that he has set himself a huge task in terms of making a difference, if you like, within the American context, to rebuild bridges, to kind of pull the U.S. out of the depths of the COVID-19 pandemic that it finds itself in, etc. And I think on some of those issues he will make a difference. I mean, if he's able to achieve 1 million vaccinations within his first 100 days, or whatever the figure is that he's looking at, that kind of thing will make a difference. If he's able to mobilize his networks that he's built up over the past 45 years of being in politics in order to repair the damage created by Trump in the American body politic, in terms of the racism that was sparked, well, not sparked, but that was given voice and given oxygen by Donald Trump. If he's able to do those kinds of things, then I think he will make a difference. On the international stage, there are a few things that he's set as his objectives to make a difference on. And I think some of them he will achieve. So one of the big things, of course, is that he wants to rebuild relations with American allies. So yes, I mean, in a sense, Inayat, you're correct. That while Donald Trump, explicitly used the slogan "Make America Great Again," that American presidents for a very long time, certainly for more than the past century, might not have used the slogan, but they viewed the United States as a superpower, and in the kind of language of Joe Biden, he's talking about restoring America's leadership in the world. What that means, we might need to unpack, but in specific terms. So one of the things he's set himself to do is to rebuild relations with American allies, particularly Europe. Secondly, as part of that also, but more broadly, re-entering the kind of multilateral world that was there before Donald Trump built the lager around the United States. So, the first thing, one of the first executive orders he was due to sign was for the United States to re-enter the World Health Organization. I think Professor Fauci is supposed to leave today for the WHO meeting, re-enter the Paris Accord. He didn't sign this one already, but looking at re-entering the JCPOA, the Iran nuclear deal, those kinds of things. So to re-establish the United States as a as a multilateral player rather than a state that wants to withdraw from various multilateral fora around the world.
Naeem, how do you see Joe Biden in terms of his relationship with the Muslim world? Because we've seen Donald Trump give himself a pat on the back towards the end of his presidency, saying that he was the only president that had not started a war. And he also spoke about the peace deals that were struck between various Arab countries and Israel. And just looking at Joe Biden in terms of where Donald Trump has left off and taking it to another level in terms of his relationship with the Muslim world.
Well, firstly, the notion of the Muslim world is a problematic one. So I think that we should stay away from that. I think that what we should be looking at is how Joe Biden will address particular contexts and particular states. So, for example, the relationship, I believe, between a Biden administration and Saudi Arabia will be less cozy and less romantic than was the one between Trump and the Saudis, or Trump and Mohammed bin Salman in particular. Similarly with Turkey, I think that it will be less romantic in a sense that the relationship between Turkey and the United States will not be based anymore on the two personalities heading those governments, but will be more institutionally based, as it used to be in the past. So, those. In terms of Iran, for example, I don't think that the relationship per se will warm, but if, and I'm expecting that it will, if the United States re-enters the JCPOA, you'll find a different kind of relationship, not one where the United States just wants to kind of destroy Iran and increase sanctions and all of that. And in fact, from the Iranian perspective, a Biden presidency will ease the economic problems, or could ease the economic problems. If you look at the Palestinian case, not too much will change. Certainly, he's not going to move the American embassy away from Jerusalem. That's clear. He has. It is said he has been the one who, or his people, have approached Mahmoud Abbas to say you must have a Palestinian election, and so we're having Palestinian elections coming up, which means that there'll be greater recognition given to the Palestinian Authority, that at least an American administration will be talking to the Palestinian Authority, and greater, perhaps even greater recognition for the PLO. During Trump's time, the PLO's office in the US was closed down. That might reopen. But in a sense, many of these things are symbolic. And of course, Trump's so-called deal of the century will be confined to the dustbin. But in real terms, will he put the brakes on Israel's ongoing colonization, settlement building, etc.? It might slow down a bit, but I'm not sure that, it's clear that both Biden and his deputy, Kamala Harris, are both very pro-Israel. And so it's not going to make a terribly great difference to the Palestinian people. In terms of Yemen, for example, I think that the fact that the relationship with the Saudis wouldn't be as great as it has been, and he has expressed unhappiness about the war in Yemen, I think that the US might push for a quicker resolution to that. We've already seen that the Saudis, Emiratis, mainly the Saudis, with the Emiratis, Egyptians, and Bahrainis being pulled along behind them, have re-established links with Qatar and ended the blockade on Qatar. And to a large extent, that's because of Biden coming into the White House. So there are changes that will take place in terms of his relationship with various Muslim states. And in some cases, those will be positive changes. In other cases, there will be changes that won't do a great deal. But certainly, I think that there will be some positives.
Well, Naeem, we're going to have to leave it at that. As always, we say Jazakallah to you for for your time with us on Salam Media, and always getting your analysis, your views. It's always wonderful. It adds a lot of value to the discussion that we're having. And once again, we say, please stay safe, look after yourself. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Naeem Jeenah, Executive Director of Afro-Middle East Centre, unpacking the Joe Biden inauguration.